WrestleVotes on Tuesday tweeted that the idea of NXT moving from TVPG to TV14 is still an idea that is very much on the table, and USA Network is not opposed to it. It's already been a TV14 show for weeks now. I don't care what the little black box in the corner of the screen says. And it's not made the show any better. If anything, the show is worse. Good television, interesting characters, great action. That is what is going to make the show must-see. Not the rating. And even that doesn't matter at this point, because all I see when I watch NXT now are dead people. Like the kid from The Sixth Sense. All I see are a bunch of people that are going to be swept up in a wave of mass releases in the next 12 months. So what are we even doing here? I mean, this just feels like a gigantic waste of time. You know, this is the problem when it comes to all these people getting cut. How are you supposed to get invested in any of these people and want to see where they're going to go? Oh, I can't wait. Boy, I like this character. This Tony D'Angelo guy, man. He's really entertaining. Forget about it. Oh, man, I can't wait to see where this guy goes. We know where this guy is going. We know where this guy is going. This guy's going to get whacked in a matter of months. And that's going to be the end of Tony D'Angelo. This week's show ended with a challenge being laid down for the Women's War Games match on December 5th. I've got some thoughts on who the final woman in the match might be and where I think they're going to be going with the Men's War Games match. First, though, when I'm right, I'm right. PW Insider reported this week that NXT has quietly dropped the Mei Ying character from television, which was played by the former Karen Q, and instead her new name will be Wendy Choo. As in C-H-O-O, that's how it's spelled, like choo-choo train. I told you this Tian Sha thing was dead in the water. The minute they called up Xia Li to the main roster, it was already on life support even before that. Now it's official. That's probably bad news for Boa come the next round of releases. The story was, it was interesting at first, and I did see the vignette they did for Xia Li on SmackDown this week, and it was very well done. It was done like a comic book. And they gave her a backstory and everything. Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The only thing that might save Xia Li on SmackDown is the fact that the reason she was called up, allegedly, is because they want to have a Chinese superstar on television. And China is, I mean, everybody is trying to break into China in a big way. I mean, China's big business. So if WWE wants to make nice with China, then I can see that saving Xia Li. Outside of that, you know, as great as the vignette was that they aired on Friday night, who cares? Who cares? How many more people are they going to debut on television and fire them within a month or two? That's what I mean. It's hard to even care. But it was a well-done vignette. But the reason I bring it up is if you remember the earlier vignettes for this whole Tian Sha thing were also done in a similar kind of way. They were animated. And it was something unlike anything we had really seen on WWE television, hence why I thought it was so unique and so interesting. And it just went on for so long. And it went nowhere. And once Triple H got sick, that was the final nail in its coffin. So that is one storyline I will not miss, because it wasn't progressing. It wasn't going anywhere. Some observations from this week's show. I'm going to bounce around a little bit here. Just talk about some of the stuff that caught my eye. Tony D'Angelo picked up his biggest win to date over Dexter Lumis before Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams ran out to lay a beat down on Lumis and they Pillmanized his hand. Johnny Gargano came out to clear out the heels and vowed to go after Carmelo, but was interrupted by Pete Dunne, who actually did pin Carmelo Hayes the week before. Hayes challenged both men to a triple threat match for his North American Championship. That match takes place this Tuesday, and I think given who's involved, it should be excellent. We know Gargano's credentials, and we know how good Pete Dunne is, but Carmelo Hayes has also been very impressive since he first showed up on NXT. On the subject of Johnny Gargano, per this week's Observer, he still has not signed a new contract with the company. His current deal is set to expire on December 3rd, which is coming up pretty quick. WWE is pushing hard for him to re-sign and made a strong offer, rather, for him to stay. All I can say is that if you work for that company and you are not named Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar, and you see all of the carnage that has gone down this year alone, this week alone, let alone this year alone, especially on the NXT side and the way they have savaged NXT, and you still sign a long-term contract with this company, you get what you pay for. Meltzer did make a most unfortunate typo right after this when he wrote that Kyle O'Reilly also has his death coming up soon. I assume he meant date. I mean, he's been suffering a slow death these past few months, so I can't blame him. It's an obvious mistake. But poor Kyle. I mean, first they pair him up with Von Wagner, and now he's got Meltzer spoiling his own death. Last week, I said the only thing that had thankfully changed about Cameron Grimes was it looked like he trimmed his chest hair. I try not to pay too much attention to people's body hair, but that was the only noticeable change I could detect. And I thought, the reports of him cutting his hair and losing the beard because Vince McMahon supposedly wanted him to change his look before he would even consider looking at him for the main roster. I mean, if that's the case, if Vince McMahon is basically saying, I won't look at this guy for the main roster unless he cuts his hair and trims his beard, I want Cameron Grimes to grow that fucking thing like ZZ Top. I want his hair to be down to the fucking ground, dragging it around. He has to reach down and pick up his hair like a bride on her wedding day picks up her dress, if it'll keep him away from that main roster. Anyway, I spoke too soon. Grimes had a poker showdown this week with Duke Hudson, whose gimmick is that he's supposed to be this master poker player, but yet he plays like shit. I don't know if that's supposed to be part of the gimmick or not, but it is. They had this long poker table in the ring with the ring announcer, Alicia Taylor, in the ring to explain the rules. It was a game of no limit Texas Hold'em. I know next to nothing about poker, so this was all gibberish to me. I used to have one of those electronic pocket poker games. I know you want to try to get a royal flush, which was impossible, so I would always shoot for 3 of a kind or 4 of a kind. That's the extent of my poker knowledge. Grimes kept drawing bad cards, but he played it cool. He totally bluffed Hudson, who thought Grimes' cards were better than they actually were. He got played by him once before, and he thought he was being played again. And he flew into a rage, and when he realized that he did get played again, he flew into a rage, he attacked Grimes, he powerbombed him through the poker table, and then he pulls out a toolbox from under the ring, and he grabs a hammer. But he thinks better of it, and he looks down, and instead in the toolbox, he finds a pair of scissors that just so happened to be inside this toolbox. I know I've had toolboxes before. Can't say that I've ever found a pair of scissors inside one. But I guess they're just really prepared for anything down there. He climbs back into the ring, and he proceeds to trim off part of Grimes' beard, and he cut off chunks of his hair. He didn't shave him bald or anything, but it was enough that it may be noticeable on TV this week. The best I can say about this is that the segment held my attention, which is more than I can say for a lot of the stuff I saw on the show this week. I don't see a long shelf life for the poker gimmick. I mean, Duke Hudson just debuted this gimmick, and he has already had two poker game segments. One was a pre-tape with Grimes, and then they did one in the ring. So where does he go from here? I mean, is he going to do this with every single person he feuds with? Probably not. And that's a good thing. Him not being saddled long-term with this gimmick. Kyle O'Reilly and Von Wagner got a win over Brooks and Jensen. I like Berkeley and Jensen better, myself. I shop there all the time. I look forward to the undisputed reunion soon with Fish and O'Reilly. This tag team stuff with Von Wagner sucks. Persia Parada won a handicap match all by herself over Gabby Stevens and Jenna Levy. Actually wrote their names down. This after she told her partner Indy Hartwell not to worry about their match. Go be with your husband. He was being tended to for that hand injury I mentioned at the beginning of the show. Robert Stone was out there watching Parada's match with great interest. And if I'm Persia Parada, I am keeping far, far away from that man. All but one of the women that he has been associated with are gone from the company. Chelsea Green was part of the Robert Stone brand. Gone. Jessie Kamea was part of the Robert Stone brand. Gone. Mercedes Martinez was briefly part of the Robert Stone brand. Gone. Frankie Monet, not officially a member, but she was hanging out around him. Gone. Of all the women that he has worked with, Aaliyah is the last one standing. Imagine that. And she's the one who spent the longest time there, too, in developmental. 6 years. They've already started teasing a rematch between Tommaso Ciampa and Bron Breakker for the NXT Championship. Ciampa cut a heated promo on all of the young punks in the NXT locker room when he was interrupted by Breakker, who vowed to take the title from him. I like how Ciampa spoofed the Scott Steiner math promo with his response. He gave Bron a 33.5% chance of taking the title from him. And then he walked off. Now, they could be setting up for a title match on that live special in a few weeks. I see them as part of War Games, which I'll get to in a second. Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai headlined the show. It was more of an angle to set up the women's War Games match than any kind of real blow-off between these two. Kai, at the end, brought the shovel into the ring that she used to cost Raquel the title at Halloween Havoc. But Gonzalez got a hold of it, and before she could use it, Toxic Attraction attacked for the DQ finish. Cora Jade ran in to make the save. She was hitting people with her skateboard. And then Zoe Stark walked out on crutches after her recent ACL surgery to introduce Io Shirai, her tag team partner, and Stark handed one of her crutches to Io. There's some symbolism there with her going away for a while. It was like she was handing off the baton to her partner. We got a brawl. Finally, we had Io screaming, "War Games," into the microphone. I still say it the way William Regal does, you know. War Games. Doesn't quite pack the same punch that Regal did when he would say it. So War Games on the female side looks to be the 3 members of Toxic Attraction and Dakota Kai against Io Shirai, Raquel Gonzalez, Cora Jade, and I am thinking the last spot probably goes to Kaylee Ray, who just came over from NXT UK, and they've been airing vignettes for her, and she had 1 or 2 squash matches on TV. She's brushed past Toxic Attraction on her way to the ring a few times on TV. So I'm thinking that last spot is going to go to her. The men's side is a little bit harder to predict, but I see it as Ciampa, Gargano, Pete Dunne, and probably LA Knight against Bron Breakker, Carmelo Hayes, Grayson Waller, I think will be one of them, and maybe Solo Sikoa. It would be weird seeing Breakker on the team, since it looks like the idea is going to be to have the veterans as the baby faces and the new blood as the heels. Even Waller in his appearance on Lash Legends show was acting heelish. He was putting down indie wrestlers. Breakker doesn't really fit in there. So, I mean, maybe instead of LA Knight, he joins with the vets and they build more tension with him and Ciampa working on the same team, possibly. Then they would have 2 more spots to fill on the new blood side. But that's what it looks like to me. The battle between NXT 1.0 and NXT 2.0. Although it really wasn't NXT 1.0. It was at least NXT 1.5. But to make things easier, we'll go with 1.0.